at first I was like, man, what is wrong with the acting?
Come here. Hold on. You need to come. Listen, Disney, stop doing. Welcome back, everybody. We have a special one today because we're doing something that we wanted to do, but we haven't had time, and we found some time.
Yeah.
And so, if we're going to be discussing the new Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2, we're going to talk about some of the things that happened as well as give our thoughts toward the ends. So be sure to stick around. If this is your first time watching us, I am Danny Rubio.
Marcel.
And we are the hosts of Real Chum, a podcast that is like talking about movies with your friends. So we have it released every Tuesday. You can find it here on the channel. If you like this content, you'll definitely love our podcast. So,
Yeah, and we do everything from trailer reactions to scene breakdowns and like initial impressions like this.
Yep. So if you like that sort of content, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It really does help the channel to get discovered by other cinephiles like you.
Ahsoka.
Ooh.
Tell me your first impressions with this.
Okay, first impressions are...
Oh, and also spoilers ahead.
Oh, yes. Okay, hold on. Big banner here. If you do not like spoilers and you have not seen it, please don't watch it. I mean, go watch a different episode. I'll leave a couple up here that you can go check out. Otherwise, strap in because we're talking. We're chatting about it all.
As far as what we know, right? From these two episodes. Yeah.
From the get-go, I was very excited for this. One, I love Ahsoka. I've loved her since Clone Wars. I loved every single time she was in it in Rebels. Like, she's just a wonderful character. I think she's such an interesting character. And Rosario Dawson is also great.
She's so good.
And so I was super pumped, when this thing. So they, to me, hit it, solidified like the love of like everything I love about Star Wars and I've wanted in a Star Wars film. Lightsaber fights, like Jedi myths, the like conflicts, personal conflicts, global conflicts, all wonderful things that to me has been missing in a lot of some of the Star Wars films. It was either one or the other or nothing at all for a lot of different aspects.
100%. I love that we're really like going into like this lore of Star Wars, right? We're looking at star maps, which I think has some. We see it in the games, right?
Oh.
We see it in some of the cartoons, but we haven't seen it in live action, right? So I love star maps. I love that we're really digging now into a whole nother galaxy.
Yeah.
Which, yes, okay. And obviously, what I've been missing is just a traditional story of like a master and a Padawan.
Yes.
From both sides of the Force.
Look, you hit it right on the head. The fact that like we have the opposition.
Yeah.
We have opposition in all aspects of this. This is the Star Wars film. Look, I love The Mandalorian. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved Andor. But every single time I sat down I wanted something to come in, whether that be with the Force or Jedis. I wanted to have the interplay between Jedis and other individuals that we've gotten in the movies. That just it's been lacking. Although Star Wars is an amazing world to create other stories and they should be told, I feel like this. I wanted this sooner.
Something that I've been missing my Star Wars is if we go back to like Phantom Menace, which has its many issues.
Whatever.
But like something that I love about that movie is just Qui-Gon and Anakin.
Yes.
The interaction between these two characters, right? And even Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And then in the sequel, in Clone Wars, Anakin goes off on a mission, and so Obi-Wan and Kenobi are kind of separated. Yeah. The same thing happens in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But in the New Hope, we have Obi-Wan and Luke, that a master and apprentice interaction. We have that master apprentice between Yoda and Luke. I don't feel like we really got that so much in the sequels. We'll get to the sequels one day. We'll address them.
Oh yeah.
There is obviously the Last Jedi. Luke and Rey are there.
Right.
But like, I love that we have an established master and apprentice from dark side users.
Yeah.
We're getting this with Ahsoka and Sabine.
Yes.
And I just want that. I think this is what I wanted in a sequel trilogy was
Yeah.
more of like an established Sith or dark side and Jedi Council, and just more of that conflict between these, rather than having some distant emperor or distant being
Yeah.
in the background. I want them up front and center, and
or
like just that conflict.
100%. And I mean, like, I love Ray, but like, you know, she's trying to rediscover the Force, trying to
Yeah.
come back and make the whole thing. Like, we're in an era where there's, you know, like, I loved Balin. First off, great beard.
Yeah.
I'm here for great beards. I cannot. I've yet to decide to grow one. I have a great goatee, but I beards not there yet. In any case, it's depicted that he's a Sith, but in the second episode, you know, with the fact that like we have to kill Ahsoka,
Yeah.
and he's like, that's a shame.
That's a shame.
That, you know, there's so few Jedi left, and which comes, you know, brings to me that, and not only that, but like his Padawan has a Jedi Padawan like braid.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
You didn't catch that?
No.
Oh, I was like, my mind was like, his Padawan has a braid, and then he says this comment, and I'm like, is he an actual Sith, or
He's a purist. He's a purist of the Force, and I love that. Like, I think he is someone that just loves the Force, not loves it, but like is such a purist and honors the Force, whether that's the dark side or the light side. To the point where he says that's a shame because there's so few Jedi left. Right?
He just respects the people who the wielders, the
wielders.
and I mean, I don't know how you know, people who can use the Force. I didn't think about that way, but I think Ahsoka's she's the other side of that coin. She's like somebody who feels like, although respects the Force, even early, you know, from Clone Wars days, she's always been one that has like wanted to push boundaries. But then after everything with Anakin, went and felt like what the Jedi was, what was being used was misuse.
Yes, but along with those lines, I don't think we've been introduced to Balin as a Sith. We just know him as a dark side. So you have these two opposing forces. One does not consider herself a Jedi. Like she has said, you know, Ahsoka has said, like, I left the Jedi years ago, right?
That's true.
And Balin and his apprentice, they aren't considered. They didn't come and say, I'm Darth Balin, right?
Yeah.
So there are these two forces that have kind of broken off from the traditional aspect of the Force.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that we're exploring this aspect of the Force, of this timeline where you have Luke somewhere who's trying to build a Jedi Council, right? And we know how that's going to go. But you have these two forces, opposing forces, that are saying, I don't want to be associated with the dark Sith, and I don't want to be associated with Jedi.
But to some level, are mercenaries or rogues.
Are rogues. But have an understanding of the Force and
or a ranger. I guess I was thinking about D&D. I was like one
a ranger.
I'm like Ahsoka's in a ranger. She kind of goes wherever she wants to go. Whereas like Balin might be more mercenary. Anyways, I don't know. All right, let's quickly go over a couple things that let's highlight key things we loved.
I love the set design. I love it. This show looks expensive.
Okay. I agree with you. I had a quick question for you. Did you feel like this was entirely shot in the volume? I mean, obviously it is, but like, did you? Because like you always point out, you're always like, oh, the volume, or like this is like whatever.
And I want to be clear, I love the volume. I think it's doing amazing things.
Yes.
But there are times where, and I'm looking at you, Ant-Man, where I was just like, why are we doing, like, it just looks botchy. Anyways, no, I know it's shot, a lot of it must be shot in the volume, but it does feel, it feels and it looks better than what we've seen from The Mandalorian and other uses of the volume.
At others, at another moment. Okay. Yeah.
Costume design, I'm loving it. I really like the look of Balin and the apprentice. Ahsoka always looks great in live action, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that Sabine.
Okay.
all of the character and set design.
Yeah. Such a great nod to the cartoons, to
Oh,
Rebels.
oh no! To me, that shows huge respect to Rebels, which I think people like overlooked.
Yes, I think this isn't a criticism, but I think it's something important to point out is this is definitely a continuation of Rebels
Yeah,
and elements of Clone Wars.
yeah,
And if you haven't seen those, I think you're gonna be confused.
yeah.
Like you're not gonna be sure who Ezra is, who Sabine is, even though there is some exposition on who Sabine is.
Right.
It's very like high level,
Super fast.
super fast.
I mean, how many seasons? There's like 7, 8, 10.
4 seasons
seasons.
of Rebels,
Yeah.
and 8 seasons of Clone Wars.
Yeah,
So that's, and again, not a criticism, but I think it's something to know when you go into this. Is like, oh, maybe I should do like some study on Rebels.
right. Which we're gonna link. We're gonna leave a link to Reddit. This Reddit user who's amazing, and he put a whole list together of like what you should watch to like get the whole thing, what you should watch if you have a little bit of time, and if you have no time at all, here are the highlights.
Here are the highlights, yeah.
And it is phenomenal. I haven't finished it up completely, but I did start.
Yeah.
And so you did it.
I did it, yeah.
Yeah. So
I did the middle one.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
one I have some time, but not all of it.
So we'll leave that link down below. Shout out to you because you're awesome.
Another thing I want to point
Yes.
out that's really good. Kevin Kiner, the composer for this. Kevin did all of Clone Wars, Rebels, and he has just like continues to step up his game as composer. It's so good. I think my favorite has been what he did with Tales of the Jedi. His use of vocals in Tales of the Jedi was that's top tier Kevin Kiner, and I think he continues to do. He's just building on his skill set, and the music is really good here.
You know, okay, so I want to make two things. I think that you're 100%. This show is expensive, and this is why it took so long to get produced. Mandalorian, especially as like some of the later seasons, they really scaled down like like city stuff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, we didn't get a lot of them in a lot of episodes after in the later seasons, and I feel like in this season or in these 2 episodes, we get a lot. We get big. It's not quite. It's definitely not Rings of Power level.
No,
right?
no,
but it has that. They're attempting to go for that feel, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the temple and like the puzzliness of these previous like Jedi / like the Dathomir sister or
The Dathomir witches.
the witches. Especially if you're like a the Last Jedi player or any sort of like, you get so much of that, and it's like so nice to see that on screen.
Yeah, no, there is great lore, as we all know, in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which I think the sequel trilogy overlooked.
Yeah.
That they should have pulled in from. But anyways.
So I really appreciate that. Lightsaber fights.
They're great. No, I really enjoy them. I think this is a great step. It's a great in between. I don't know how to describe it. I just think it really is flowing really well. It's choreographed really awesome. Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka with her double lightsabers. It's just so sick.
Yeah. I love the lightsaber fights. I think my one thing is I do think that I feel like they slightly feel too choreographed.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of a conflict when you're in a volume. My thing is like, like the way it's spacing wise or whatever they have to do. My guess is that they have to make super choreographed / a little bit rigid.
Mm-hmm.
That's to me, that was the one thing that like I love. I'm telling you, I'm here for the fights, the lightsaber fights, the black, which is one person who is very intriguing that I'm curious about is the guy, the like one that Ahsoka fights against the Padawan and the guy with the
he looks like an Inquisitor.
he looks like an Inquisitor or like a junior
Markor or something Markosh something like that.
Yeah.
It starts with the name.
Anyways, I like that was I so here for that.
Yeah.
I just the one thing is that kind of took me out of it was when I'm watching, and I think part of this is honestly. We recently did Extraction. Check it out there. That like we talked about this. That we talked about like stunt coordinator, like these sorts of stunts are getting better and better. And I'm like,
No, I think you're right. And I think your comment about how it felt a bit too choreographed, I felt it most in the docking when they're in Corellia.
Oh, yeah.
In the second episode, and she's fighting the robot and the apprentice, right? And you bring up a good point. I think maybe you might be limited within the volume to do certain things, whether that's spacing or it's. My understanding is the volume, right? The camera,
Yes.
as it moves, the background
yes. So, yeah.
follows the line, the point, the eye,
Yeah, perspective.
the perspective, right? So, is the issue that you can't do a lot of space within the volume because you're limited, or is the camera work doesn't allow you to do fast fighting, or
I don't know. Well, I have some thoughts. I think I'll save it from another video.
yeah.
I mean, suffice it to say that I think it's just that the limitations because of the volume and the fact that you're doing virtual production with some elements of practical things.
Yeah.
I think is where it comes in play. I don't know how big. I mean, it seems like it's a pretty big space, but at the same time, you have lights. They have these big sticks that are on top of you, right? And if you're doing something with the force, like you got to have a harness, and so like you're dealing with a lot of other things. And
That makes sense. Yeah.
and that's the only. Honestly, that's probably the only gripe I have.
Okay.
With
Ahsoka
so far.
I have one major gripe.
Okay, what's the major gripe?
There are some issues with the pacing in here.
I think I have a solution.
I don't think it's from an editing point, but here's what happens. A character will sell a line. Second character responds. First character replies. Second character responds to that. There is pause.
I'm gonna want to cut that in the edit. I already know my head was like, I need to cut this, but then I'm like, the point is the fact that like it feels
it's one max 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
3 to 4 seconds of pause, and then the other character responds with the one line, another 3-4 seconds of pausing. At first I was like, man, what is wrong with the acting? And then as like halfway through the first episode, I was like, it's not the acting.
No, you know what it is? I think this comes back to, again, the way they did production. I think this might have been shot during COVID or partially, I just feel like half of the time that they're acting, no one else is in the room with them.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, are they just repeating these lines to a blank space because they're not there?
They're not having like the interpersonal.
Yeah.
Like I was actually gonna say, I'm like, I didn't feel like. I'm glad you brought this up because I remember, wow, there's like there's no like really over the shoulder shots. Like I would want, like when they're in the hospital.
Yeah,
that was the one I really felt it. In the second, other thing, I also felt like the pacing. I think we also felt weird pacing struggles. Look, Disney, come here. Hold on. Need to come. Listen, Disney, stop doing 2 episodes. Give us 4 episodes, 2 hours each. Make it BBC level. We don't care. Okay, we're gonna stick around. Just freaking give it to us. Okay, we can go.
But you bring up a great point, though.
Look, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Listen to this reaction up here. We have talked about this extensively on several episodes / other like reaction things. And I realized what it was tonight. This episode is that they truly are putting this in 2 episode chunks.
Yeah.
And in their mind, they're like, we have to release this. We're going to make this, this is episodic. So we have to keep it to 45 minutes. Screw the handbook.
Yeah.
Go BBC level. Give us a 2-hour episode movie.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a conclusion. Let us have that, and then give us the next episode.
The next episode.
The next week, or in 2, in a week.
In a week.
So what if it's 3 episodes? We're binging it anyways,
and that's fine because length-wise, it ends up being, if you do 3 episodes, an hour and a half to 2 hours, you end up getting your 6 hours.
Yeah.
Of content, right?
Right.
Is this going to be released now 1 episode per week?
I think so. I'm gonna wait. This is why I want to do this now, because I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it per week. I'm gonna watch till it's finished, and then I'm gonna binge the rest of it right before the last episode, probably.
The last episode.
And I think that's what we'll do. So many scenes were like one individual person on the screen. They deliver the line. You cut back to
Balin's character with his apprentice, the interaction's a lot better. You can see they're in the same room.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest issue is just that dialogue. I don't know. And maybe you're right. Maybe it was shot during COVID and they just couldn't get them in the same room.
My hope is that as we get to the other episodes, if they like had to have less restrictions or whatever, maybe, I don't know. I think that this is the Star Wars show that we've all been really wanting to have.
Yeah.
There's Star Wars. I mean, there's Jedi, there's Force, there's political situations and like stuff that you were like,
I love me some politics in Star Wars. I love it.
Oh, it was so good. I loved the scene where they go and they're like, wait, this used to be a factory for Morgan. Has anyone checked that? They go and they freaking had to kill like the whole freaking controls.
All of the empires working there. It seems like I loved it. I love it. Especially that the one employee there. He's like, Are you imperialist? He's like, no, I'm a businessman.
Yeah, I know.
My loyalty is to my investors.
Yeah.
Turns out he was imperialist.
Yeah, of course, investors.
It's great. I'm excited to continue to see this. I hope they fix those issues with like the pacing, the dialogue. I'm here for this story.
Yes,
I really am, and Ahsoka's great. I just love it.
Let us know what you think about Ahsoka's episode 1 and 2 down in the comments below. Specifically, what you liked and what's one thing you probably didn't like, or if you agree with us, let us know any additional thoughts that might be there.
Also, comment what is your favorite Ahsoka episode.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know mine.
Oh,
do I? I think I just love the last two, her arc in the last season of Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. I remember the
Which
first time I watched
didn't happen.
The first time I watched that last season of Clone Wars
almost didn't happen.
Dude, I got teary eyed, man.
that whole thing almost didn't happen.
Yeah, it almost didn't happen.
Which is still mind boggling because we wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
Thanks again. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Later.